one legs of the wave is 30 meters or 40 meters, so that the wave is like this. So when father went went out to that day, and then one crew said it's about wave is like 7 meters to 8 meters. Even this big Nocp boat, yeah, you can imagine this one. This is very Nocp from the bottom to the top part. It's about 3 meters, about this size, right? And then even though at the top go down, then the waves way up there. And when father hooked up the tuna, and then one crew, I talked with one crew, and then he said the final moment you have to make like harpooning. Harpoon. Oh no. Here I see. Harpoon.
He has harpoon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's harpoon.
Yeah. Yeah, he did already harpoon, and this is harpoon line. This is a tuna line, and he's holding the harpoon usually going down, but that time he said harpoon has to go this way.
Yeah.
Such big wave. So they got so tired, and they fight 2 hours, fighting 2 hours, and then finally lost it. And they got so tired, and the father said, "Let's go back." And it took 3 hours, usually 1 hour from fishing ground to port, coming back. So it took 3 hours. It's very cold, and everybody got so tired, exhausted, and then came back to the Grossa port. And then after the breakwater coming in, at the time the very warm wind came from the land, and then father felt something, so much warm feeling came to father, and he heard a voice from God, and Heavenly Father said, "You did very good job today." And then suddenly father started to cry. He couldn't stop, really stop crying. He couldn't stop crying, and father said he felt the Heavenly Father is a Heavenly Mother, mother's feeling. The working and the fighting is so hard, and then coming back to the port, and then the God really embraced through father. And that was really, he felt he was embraced by the mother. So he was crying, and then he really appreciated and thanked to God. And then he saw one stone building, and then he determined memorial for that day. He's going to buy that building. That is a morning garden. It was 1975, and then 5 years later, it's on a sale. It was owned by the Catholic Church, and then Unification Church bought it, and then it became the summer Ocean Challenge Training Center. Then the 1980, two parents came, and my wife, after the season over, my wife was assigned as a manager, but my wife worked as a staff with the East Garden member, and my wife said, mother decided there are 40 rooms, 40 bedrooms, and 3 stories. 1, 2, 3, 4 stories. Yeah, and 40 rooms, and every room mother designed what the color of the carpet, what type of the carpet, and what type of what color of the wall, and also the bed, and curtain, wall, sheet, comforter, bed, and cabinet, and the lamp. She went to the shopping. Every room was designed by mother, and to mother went by herself shopping. And entire rooms, even mother painted the walls. So and mother ordered some stuff. My wife was making a curtain. Mother bought the curtain, and then they made they sewed to make a curtain. So the morning garden became the really memorial place for two parents. Mother invested so much time to prepare the house, and father has a memorial of the building. So the Gloucester morning garden. The father named the morning garden because of the earliest time in United States, the sunrise. So it is morning. New York is an east garden, but morning garden is more east than the New York East Garden, and it's called morning garden. So two parents started to do the really summertime ocean Providence, and he started the Ocean Church in 1980. In 1981 he started the Ocean Challenge, and before that father started the business in Norfolk, Virginia, and one Korean leader was assigned to take care of one plant, fish processing plant, with the nitrogen freezer together, making a frozen fillet. But not so many boats brought the fish to us, so that the Ocean Challenge. Do you remember what's the name? Bonita. Bonita.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Her father is now taking care of Master Marine. And the Master Marine was the first shipyard on the boat. And next was San Francisco, in the Seattle area, I think. And father tried to make the shipyard, and then the fishing, and fish processing plant, and then after that fish sales, and even father tried to make a restaurant. Father ordered me to start a seafood restaurant in Gloucester, so we did. We made one seafood restaurant, but unfortunately, because of the persecution in Gloucester, I couldn't make so much success. And After that, flower name restaurant. So everywhere, every state we started. Alaska also, one Japanese restaurant built. Still now it's going on. And I think that now the name was many times changed, starting from the New York fish house to the Happy World. Happy World is a Japanese business name. And then Mr. Sankon Park took care. At that time, he changed the name to True World 7 or 8 years ago. And then the True World Group right now developed to the $700 million business level now, all over. So it's a quite good business, and the wholesale fish sales to the Japanese restaurant is almost 70 to 80% of the market share they have now. All others are really difficult. Father started the krill fishing business in South America, Uruguay, and I was sent to Uruguay as the national messiah, and I worked for Mr. Kube Park. He was here, and he was called by father to take care of that kind of business. Antarctic area, krill fishing. But somehow, some way, somebody reported to Mr. Kube Park, and he believed it. And father has a big idea. Father has a good idea. And krill is there. But somebody who has to work, has to make a clear analysis of the real market or real
phobia with the needle. If I would rather someone punch my face rather than someone will push a needle in me. It's kind of phobia psychologically, because I had this surgery, very long needle every time. After that, every time I see a needle, what the problem is. So finally, there was a calling for a Filipino pastor in Kodiak. And in the Filipino community, there was a research and who graduated from the seminary at the same time can do some ministry. So they picked me up. I came to Kodiak August 2006. So my wife and I were thinking, okay, we go to Kodiak, no salary, just volunteer, no health care. That means no child, nothing. We just drop everything and just just be living for the sake of our rooms, prepare the food, and some cook from Korea, and workers from Seoul group. They already were gone. One's your mother's assistant. Always
Wanju McDivitt.
Wanju McDivitt. It happened that while I was in Brazil, that was like 1996. Father were always going back and forth to Brazil. It was like more than 10 years ago. So at that time, my wife was working with the cook at the East Garden, cook of Troopers, the East Garden, and that sister really likes my wife. And then she also testified to Dr. Yang, so finally Dr. Yang was convinced that my wife and I cook. She gave a ride to the kids going to school, and she just served everything. She actually got sick because she just served and served and served.
To nature, and he would have thought of things and viewed things with God's eyes. And when he experienced the beauty of nature, he would have invited God. God, share this. You've been waiting 15.5 billion years. Let's take a walk on the beach in Alaska and watch the sunrise and share it together. And everything they do, experience of going shopping for my wife. And I'm saying, Heavenly Father, let's go shopping for my wife's birthday present, you know? And we're there, looking at these sweaters. Yeah, I'm gonna get one of these sweaters. I like the quality, I like the style. And what color? You know, this one. Just something didn't feel right. This color. God saying, "Are you kidding me? Your wife on that color? You're ridiculous." Oh, this one, yeah, that's the one. You know, really, that's the kind of relationship you have with God. Yeah, this, and then you feel, yeah, this is right. This is the color, right? So we call the original nature, the Adamic nature that Adam and Eve would have developed. And they would, the nature of an original human being that hadn't fallen would have been really so exemplary, so just high quality. They would have seen everything from God's viewpoint. They would have loved everybody with God's viewpoint. They would have understood the principle of creation, and they would never violate the principle of creation. They would establish proper relationships among people, and nobody would reverse dominion over another person, and nobody would multiply sin or any of that. And it would be a beautiful culture where everybody really loved and cared for each other, right?
The scene, I was so excited to see this movie between God and Moses. How they describe the gods, especially the God made the stone tablet. That scene was also really good, exciting, inspirational. And I wanted to show you, maybe during this time, if there is a time in the evening time, maybe I can show you, but this 3 hours. So when I was 15 years old, middle school age, this came to Japan also. So of course I didn't know the backwards from Unification Church. I was 15 years old, so 50 years ago. And then I was so moved to see this movie. This was a really beginning for my religious interest to the Bible and Christianity. And today I would like to give you the lecture of the Jesus course. This Jesus course is between the God and Jesus course, and between the Jesus and the Israel people, and also Jesus and their disciples.
Aiming dead center of it?
No, I'm in the top left.
And it's supposed to be the bottom one. Or try aiming center. Maybe it's just my shots off. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I always shoot.
Okay.
Try aiming dead center.
Oh, it's close. You going for the left?
Nice. Was that in the middle?
Yeah.
Nice. Ooh. Maybe my shots are just off and always go to the bottom right. Nice.
Is that middle? Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that confirms it.
it's sighted in perfectly.
He's good at everything. Not fair.
Nice.
What a try to hit the battery. Oh, there's a battery. Where is it at?
It's bright
It's
under
right
the
in the
orange.
middle.
Watch this
Oh, really?
explosion.
so small.
Yeah, just aim for like middle of it. Like
Alright, I'm going for the target.
just on top
The
of it.
right big target.
Left.
Left, yeah, left.
Good at everything. Guys, don't shake around the table too much.
Sounds like a challenge.
The table.
Sounds
The
like
table shaking.
Sounds like a challenge, dude.
Don't shake. I challenge you to do it. Close
It's pretty easy. It's just like shifting with the feet and shifting your foot, turn on the feet, and then you press a little bit of gas, right?
that thing, that hunk of metal.
These can't because they're state, not federal. Department of Natural Resources, park rangers, they all have authority to board a vessel. Anything 10 feet 1 inches or more. And Bob will get into liability and stuff and all that later. But you gotta have your capacity plate that has to be, you can't be defaced, you can't scratch it or take your outboard and where you lock your outboard down, you can't lock it right here so you can't read it. Flow plans, in the back I've got 3 different flow plans. This will sound funny again, or stories. Flow plan has to be given to a loved one. If you're fighting with your husband, or fighting with your boyfriend, or fighting with your girlfriend, or fighting with your wife, don't give them the flow plan. Because probably if something happens to you, there's a good chance it's not going to get where it needs to go. It's happened here in Kodiak. So Harbor Master takes flow plans, the Kodiak Flotilla Auxiliary takes flow plans, Air Station Anchorage takes flow plans, call them on Channel 16, just like an airplane, same thing. Basically who you are, where you are, what you're doing, when you plan to be back, how much fuel you got. I have what they call a personal locator beacon. It's $1,800. It's about that big. It's a brick, we call it the brick. And in that, it's got all my medications. My wife has multiple sclerosis, basically blind in one eye, can't move her left side very well. She has a bunch of medication. She has severe restrictions. Something we do is free. It's all volunteer time. It's a good thing. Like I said, we teach a lot of kids a lot of things. We get a lot of rewards out of it. State book, again, is the Bible for Alaska. You get these stickers, you take them to your insurance people. I get about 30% knocked off my annual insurance on that boat. So it's about $300. Saves me some money. Trailering, another storytelling session. When you're trailering, size your vessel pulling the trailer to what you're pulling. Kodiak is infamous for Ford Explorer, 1995 Ford Explorers, pulling boats that have 2 or 3 axles, 30 to 40 foot boats, not being able to turn, not being able to stop. When you guys go to the Marine Fisheries Center, which I'm sure you're going to do, it's got a touch pond over there. Ask Fiala or your sponsors to walk across the Near Island Bridge. It's a really cool walk. It's all guarded, gated. As soon as you start across the bridge from town side, look on your right and you'll see a little box there for pooper scoopers for picking up your dog poop. And right below that, you'll see a little sign that says Ark and Spark. You'll see a bunch of little black lines on there. There were 22 of them this morning. That's
Short and sweet, we don't really have anything to say about today. It was nice. Tour was nice.
Alright.
I asked him, so he was thinking
Guys,
about it. So.
guys, this is serious.
So me,
Claire's up. It's serious.
Our team name is Team Isan.
Team what?
What does that mean?
Isan?
Isan. Isan. Ethan's not here, so we're naming our team after him.
Oh, Ethan.
What, Isan?
Team Ethan?
Ethan.
Isan.
Yeah, but
I can see the hamster dying. Anyway, and my testimony is that I've really been struggling with my team this past week because they make me do everything, like say the name of the team and give testimonies. But today I woke up with a determination to really try to love my team and to be okay with the fact that they make me do everything. And it's working so far. I feel more affectionate towards my team right now. So go Team
That's not a clip.
One more time. The real
Bro, can you say your name just by yourself?
What?
What's your name?
Alright, so we are called the R to the double E, double B-I-G Kings.
What?
Real big kings.
reals are
No, like real.
Yeah, like real and like big.
So it's like a
and
command, like
kings.
real big kings. Like real.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah.
testimony.
So today, what a day. Let me tell you guys. What a fantastic day. As it started out, I don't remember. But towards the end of it though, when we went fishing after that whole Coast Guard thing, I went with a small group and I was trying this new thing. I saw it in a movie once where you go fishing without a hook, but you have a lure. And I wasn't catching anything. I was seeing all these fish. I didn't bring my specs, so it was kind of like, just seeing them in the light. I'd be like, and just for like a straight 20 minutes. And I was like, yo, Uncle G, so I'm going back to the car because I'm not catching anything. I can't see anything. It's raining. I stepped in bear poop. I ain't feeling this. Uncle G's like, hey, you know what my father told me? And I'm like, what did he tell you? Eat your food? And he was like, nah, if you want to catch a fish, keep your hook in the water. I was like, all right. So then the next thing I know, he's catching fish like all day, and he hooks a red, which he thinks is a pink, by the tail, and this red is fighting, and I see him like hanging this thing back over to the land and everything, and it's just going nuts. And then he brings it on, or it close, and he sees us by the tail, but then that thing runs off with his fly, like, the hook. And basically he's like, oh, I lost it, whatever. So I'm like, whatever, I keep fishing with my lure without a hook. And next thing I know, I snagged the same one that he caught by his fly that was stuck to the fish, which was really cool. So like, I managed to catch a fish without a hook.
Wow.
People say that.
Imagine how you do when you do have a hook.
Yeah, so basically today, I managed to really do that. I felt like God was trying to tell me, stop complaining. Here you go, just shut up, here's your fish. You can't keep it though because you didn't earn it right, but here you go. And then that fish fought, like, I was like fighting it, the line was cutting my hands, and I was just like, just going nuts with it. And it almost took my pole apart, and it was a really tough fish, which he then again caught after. So I take partial credit for one of his salmons that he
Go for it.
Really? I was just playing, nah, that was all him. But yeah, it was really fun. I I really wish next time we go on another trip like that, that a lot more of you guys could come follow and have a really cool experience with catching fishes, because it's actually mad fun, especially if you don't get to a lot. So, yeah.
Magnetic is 22.45. Oh, 21.45.
And that's
Because-
right from the map.
Because we found out that, the annual decrease is 2 minutes, so we decreased it and rounded. Okay, east. Putting the east and west is important because depending if you're going up the, what?
47, 347.
You gotta be careful because that's out of 60.
Okay.
So 15.
Yeah, 15.
So that's what you're gonna be looking on your, alright. Okay, that's for that. So then if you're on a line going this way, you gotta do it again to find your second one.
Yeah, gotta find another point of reference. So you want something that's as close to 90 degrees from that.
Then you gotta do this again twice.
I think we're stuck.
It's easy. You're trying to figure out where you are by just using 2 points of reference and your compass and deviation charts.
So we don't know where we are right now.
Right, no, we had no idea.
From that.
We did the deviation chart up and found out that we were going true north 0 for simplicity. Okay, so we're going true north 0. True north 0 straight up. For 1 hour, that means 10 knots. We're going 10 knots. So this is 10? Yeah, 10 knots is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is that right?
No, usually different colors.
Okay.
1, 2,
Oh, each of the colors is one?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. But that's, no, we want the miles, right?
Instead, shallow end maybe go to this way. So we have to be very careful about this point. And this V is R, red V, 8, right? Flashlight.
Yeah.
So there's a light, red light on this V. Yeah, so that means the V shows you have to go this way, like this way.
And they don't all say red with the 10 flashing.
That's true, because this one does, it's flashing 1 + 2.
Oh, found.
Everything, pretty much, everything in quotations is what's written on it, that's the number of
What
the
does QG belt?
Jordan's gonna email something to Travis.
I don't know what
Ready?
that means.
Otherwise, it's 120 meters.
You hang on it?
Can you pull up sign?
Yeah, it's
no.
very deep and it's a very
You'll see when we go make. You'll see.
100
Is he actually in there?
30 meters. Bottom.
I know, it's
Every boat has this one.
it's like
You
something
suggest you we put the anchor line, so.
Yeah.
Because the bilge pumps, I'm not sure if they drained the battery or they just didn't work.
That's the best question.
So every day, check the oil, check the batteries, check the bilge pumps. And check the battery charge on that GPS too.
and that's pretty rusted. Actually, it's like really rusty.
Yeah. You're doing a bit, and because if you go forward, your stern will kick out and hit the dock. So it goes right in.
Go to our Nocp and make sure that his lunch, he can eat his
Josie?
Does you have a special lunch being made now?
Hello?
your son, he's there.
No, but is there a lunch being made now?
Josie? Hey.
So we should assign somebody.
So, are you calling?
Find out.
Nice! Woo! He stabbed me with my rod. Maybe it's bloody.
Joe, what are you looking for?
Good job!
There you go, Kendall.
Nice, Kendall.
Oh, that was gonna get that.
Solo thump. Another silver.
Woo! Thanks. Right?
Yep. So watch your rod tip. You can strip out a little bit of line. Strip it.
My boss are the fishermen and fisherwomen of Alaska, and the Kodiak area specifically. We are operated by a group called the Kodiak Regional Aquaculture Association. If you fish in Alaska for salmon, you have to own a permit to fish here. And the permits are specific to certain regions. So if I want to fish in the Kodiak area for salmon commercially, I need to own a permit for this management area. I can't have a permit here and go fish down in southeast near Juneau or up in Prince William Sound. They have their own area, they have their own area permits, and so they have their own aquaculture associations, just like ours. We serve the people who fish in this vicinity. Originally, this was a state facility. It still belongs to the state. We're contracted to own it. The state was really big into producing salmon from their hatchery system in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. But it got to the point where the burden of operating them, the costs became quite expensive, and they figured, well, this is really benefiting a very specific group of people. So rather than use the resources of the entire state, someone in Fairbanks, for example, will see no benefit, while the coastal people will see a great benefit, they decided to devise a system that would allow these hatcheries to be operated by the folks in the community. So we're a private nonprofit corporation, and if you are a permit holder, you are like a shareholder in this corporation. They elect a board of officers, and that board of directors kind of directs the hatchery as to we'd like to produce more sockeye salmon, we'd like to look into more pink salmon production. And our role is to serve our board. The board is composed mostly of commercial fishermen, but there are also seats for processors, subsistence fishermen, and sport fishermen. And you can be all three. A lot of people around here are. Anyone aware of what a subsistence fisherman or fisherwoman is in Alaska?
Local.
Run. And everyone's interested in it. You got guys who want to drop a net to harvest those fish to sell them, or make a living by selling those fish commercially. You got people with a fishing pole who want to go out and catch some fish for fun and also bring them home to eat or catch and release. And you've also got people who have a subsistence permit to drop a net and catch fish to feed their families. They're not catching them to sell and make money. They just want to take them home, smoke them, freeze them, can them, what have you, eat them fresh. And the state of Alaska, by state constitution, manages to, they will close usually the commercial fishery first, the sport fishery second, and if it comes down to the very most dire circumstances, they will then close the subsistence fishery on that specific run. The state has to allow a certain number of fish into rivers so that we have another generation of eggs laid, but they'll try to afford everyone an opportunity to harvest those fish and still reach their escapement. We fit into that system. We'll talk a little bit more about how as we go through the facility. I have a really important rule. We want everyone to look and appreciate how cool these fish look. We want to engage your minds, but we don't want to engage your hands. There are not a lot of sockeye facilities. Sockeye, also known as red salmon, they're one of the big money fish here in Alaska. Unfortunately, they carry a disease. Won't hurt you, won't hurt me, but it is devastating to the fish. Every sockeye stock in the state of Alaska is a known carrier of this virus. If we detect it on site, we have to kill everything within the unit. We have lots of small units relative to other hatcheries. If we were a coho or silver salmon hatchery, all of our production here we'd probably do in 2 or 4 big raceways. That's what we call our tanks. But that would mean if we had 4 raceways, in each raceway 25% of our annual production is at risk. And so by using smaller raceways, we reduce our risk in each unit, but that only works if we don't cross-contaminate. So please don't touch tanks, nets, just hand it to yourself, okay? Question?